Okay, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get started as people start to flow in. Today is the 184th Security Thought Leadership webinar. Now, I've missed the last two. I want to thank Janice Goldstra-White and Tom Reed for standing in for me. I was at the Indian Oscars and the New Zealand Oscars, and so I've been missing in action for a couple of webinars. Back now, of course, and I'll be here for the forthcoming ones too. Now, listen, today we are doing a topic that has been at the forefront of thinking for ages and ages. How are you measuring ED&I against business performance? What are the real benefits? And I don't think anyone out there is saying ED&I is not a good idea. We're not trying to argue that today. What we're trying to do is understand where we are with it. How do you begin to use this to good effect? What are the barriers to doing so? And as usual, we have three experts, all working in different parts of this sector, who are going to come along, offer their views and debate with us some of the important issues around this topic. Thought leadership, not trying to solve the world problems today, we're just trying to increase thinking about the issues. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce my three panelists, and once they've done their introductions, I will invite each of them to make an opening statement, 3 minutes, for them to say whatever they want to say about the topic. And once we've done that, we'll come to you and invite you ask questions. That's if you could use a question and answer button at the bottom of your screen, we'll endeavour to incorporate those questions in the ensuing discussion. Without further ado then, let's go and meet our first panelist and whose idea this was. Sarah, over to you.
Hi Martin, thank you so much. Sarah Cork, EDI Board Chair for the City Security Council and a board member for the EDI Council for the Security Commonwealth.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. And from Sarah to Arevika. Arevika, good afternoon. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm Arevika. I'm a Director of Customer Experience at STM Group UK Limited. I'm a Board Director for Equity, Diversity and Inclusion at ACES International UK Chapter and a Non-Executive Director at Skills for Security. Thank you.
Arevika, thank you very much indeed. And now from the United Kingdom to Kenya. Barbara, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. My name is Barbara. I'm the HR and Admin Manager for Lady Askari, which is a security risk management company that's female focused and it's based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm also a member of Women in Safety Excellence, which is an association that advances the interests of women in the safety and security industry in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, look, I know a lot of you contact me and say, don't we choose good panelists? Once again, a set of experts in different parts of this area. We're going to hear what they're going to say. What are their views on this topic? 3 minutes they each get to put across what they're thinking about this matter. So without further ado, let's hear what they've all got to say. And don't forget, question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. Get your questions in early and we'll endeavour to build them into the discussion. Sarah, please, over to you, your opening statement.
Perfect, thank you, Martin. So there's articles and research that are published to show the benefits of embedding quality, diversity and inclusion in your business. I mean, why wouldn't you? First off, it makes the right thing to do. And secondly, it makes great business sense. The Gartner research proves that through revenue, by embedding EDI into your business, that they've seen a revenue increase in those business by 19%. I mean, wow, what if that's not a statistic for you, what is? Diversity and inclusion boosts innovation. It gives healthy topics for people to come and join you. It gives a healthier workplace. It attracts and retains the best talent. It improves morale. It increases productivity. It increases the value proposition for your employees and gets employee engagement. It gives a sense of belonging to an organisation. Equality enables the delivery of fairness. Equality is giving everyone a pair of shoes. Equity is giving somebody the right pair of shoes that fit. All this together leads to creativity, innovation, productivity, business reputation, business results showing growth in revenue and profit. You become an attractive employer, customer retention. Just think about a time when you were included and how that made you feel. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. Really good. Okay, some good opening thoughts from Sarah. Let's, without further ado, go to Arevika. Arevika, your opening statement, please.
Promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in business is not only ethically and morally responsible, but also commercially beneficial. According to McKinsey, the most diverse companies are more likely to outperform less diverse peers on profitability, as Sarah mentioned. According to a study by Harvard Business Review, more diverse organizations ranked higher in innovation by 19%, as again Sarah mentioned, and financial performance by 9%. Therefore, the evidence-based linking good ED&I practice to improved commercial performance is strong and growing. So how can we measure ED&I practices? It can be done in several ways, such as collecting and analyzing demographic data, conducting regular employee feedback surveys, tracking promotion and retention rates of underrepresented groups, and measuring the diversity of the company's suppliers and contractors. It is also essential to ensure that these measurements are conducted in a transparent and objective manner, with organizations perhaps considering third-party assessments and audits to verify their practices, one of which I can mention is the EDGE Global Standard Certification by Intertek. As an industry, we need to constantly examine the evidence behind ED&I initiatives of companies and ensure that they are not just lip service, but real efforts to create a better workplace. This is why it's important for all of us to continuously educate ourselves and take action towards promoting ED&I. And I'm really grateful to work with STM, ACES International, and Skills for Security, where transparency and accountability is key. So at STM, as an example, we have won several awards for our initiatives, including the recent OSPAS Awards and the Security and Fire Excellence Awards. Our examples of hosting several Eid celebration parties in the office, working with local schools to provide work experience and mentoring opportunities, launching of a Voice of Women group to support the development and empowerment of women are just a few of many initiatives. We know that only 11% of license holders are female in the security industry, and we try to tackle that by targeting the recruitment of women via a variety of sources, such as women's Facebook sites, groups, and Mumsnet. We also have internal working groups, training and development programs, surveys, and so much more. But most importantly, promoting ED&I is not just about awards and recognition. It is about creating a workplace where every employee feels valued, respected, and empowered to reach their full potential. It is about making a positive impact on the lives of employees, customers, and our communities. And it is about creating a better future for all of us. So promoting ED&I is really a necessity. It is a foundation of a successful, sustainable business, and it is the right thing to do. So if any of you watching this webinar obviously want to join us in this critical mission, please connect with us on LinkedIn or via any other means. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Arevika. Really appreciate that. And don't forget, if you've got a question, please do use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. And as soon as we've heard from the third panelist, we'll come and address some of the questions, both here and ones we've got in advance. And our third panelist, of course, is Barbara. Barbara, your opening statement, please.
Thanks, Martin. So I agree with Arevika and Sarah. The evidence is conclusive. So many management consulting firms have conducted reviews and research over the last 10 years. The McKinsey research was over 5 continents, and it covered over 1,000 companies, over 15 different countries. And yeah, the evidence was conclusive that companies that are more diverse, they are more profitable, they have more customer satisfaction and more employee engagement. And the higher the amount of diversity there was, the more profitable the company was. So we can't question the evidence. It's quite true that having good EDI initiatives does affect your business performance positively. So personally, as a HR professional, we are the ones who generally promote the EDI initiatives in the company, and the executives are always pushing us for evidence, like, yes, we can invest in EDI, but what is the business case? Where is the evidence? So it can be quite difficult to link our diversity efforts to actual business performance. But one way of measuring it is if you've been increasing your diversity year on year, if every year you're increasing your diversity numbers and your inclusivity, and the profitability of the company is growing, that could be a link to show that your diversity efforts are affecting your business performance. Other ways that I use to show the effects of our diversity initiatives is employee engagement. When we do conduct our employee engagement surveys, the employees give us feedback that they're very comfortable with the culture, they feel included, and they're happy to work for us. Also, they recommend us to their colleagues, their peers, and we receive a lot of interest from job candidates who want to work with us specifically because we are known for having an inclusive culture and our diversity agenda. Other than that, customers have actually sought us out because Lady Ascari is known as a female-focused company that has female security executives that can meet the needs of both genders. So companies have sought us out to work with them because of our diversity agenda. So as a company, we have proven that EDI initiatives are very beneficial for your business performance. But what I wanted to say also is that for us, EDI is part of our core values. It's not necessarily just for business performance that we're doing EDI. We believe it's the ethical and moral thing to do. Business performance comes as a result of the EDI. So yeah, for us, it's our core value. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Barbara, thank you very much. Well, thank you all of you. And questions are going to be coming, but I want to ask you, if I might, the three of you. I'm going to ask all of you this, starting with you, Sarah. Look, if it's so compelling, why then are there so many gaps in this area of in terms of business performance? I mean, it's far from clear that all businesses across the security sector and indeed corporations are onto this. What they're doing? What's the barrier to enhancing this and embracing this fully? Sarah first.
So, Martin, I don't think it's a barrier. I think we're on a journey. And, if we look back 10 years ago, we were talking about health and safety, and we were talking about embedding that in our businesses. And today, 5 years ago, we were probably talking ESG. Today, we're talking EDI because we've realised the benefits, and the research has provided us with the detail and statistics that back that up. So, it makes absolute good business sense. But as Barbara mentioned there, it's cultural, it's changing. And actually to have that whole diversity within your business really helps your business move forward.
You see, here's the thing, though, just to pick you up on this, Sarah. I get the logic, right? I mean, it's not difficult to understand the logic, nor is it difficult to understand the research. It's just that in a business context, the most compelling argument will always be in business terms, particularly looking for funding. And of course, I guess this is a little bit more difficult to get a compelling financial proof that what you do is going to produce a benefit. Would that be right, Sarah, or am I exaggerating the downside?
No, you're exactly right, Martin. But I think, as we just talked about the statistics, through the Gartner Group and through Forbes, they report there that business revenue can increase by 19%. Actually, if you look at the ethnic diversity, the reports there is revenues increased by 35%. So actually, that's your business case that you can go back to your board to be able to show that by doing equality, diversity and inclusion, there's a business benefit, but also it has got this lovely sense of belonging across the business as well. And when your employees feel that they belong, you have a culture that is phenomenal. And not only that, that has an impact into your customer satisfaction. So happy people, happy customers. It's overarching.
Okay, so Arevika, let me come to you on this issue because you've all painted a picture about the benefits. Okay, but let's look for a minute, about what needs to be done to make this more popular or get more organisations engaged. And perhaps, as someone was saying to me only yesterday, it's not a matter of getting an organisation to say they support it. It's getting an organisation to say they really mean it. And herein lies some of the sort of realities of business life and working life, perhaps. Arevika, from your point of view, would you say that amongst the higher levels, there's still some need to be persuaded of the merits? Or is it the fact that the hierarchies are committed to this and it's more a process of getting the workforces engaged in the realities of the benefits? Arevika.
So should I give an example in terms of our company or in general?
You give an example, either way. You
I'll
can give an
both.
example.
Obviously, the ED&I will not take root without the senior level commitment, right, and support. So it needs to come from the top because they need to support your initiatives. They need to promote it so that it can come down to all the levels of, the employee resources. So it needs planning, organizing, of course, it needs raising awareness about the importance of ED&I. And that is what we do at this company, because I'm lucky that we have the board support in our ED&I initiatives. We've got the whole senior leadership team, supervisors, managers, down to frontline teams. We all actively engage and we try to work together to raise the awareness. And that obviously impacts the culture. Staff really feel happy working together. We brainstorm, we have the cake and conversation sessions where we think differently, we think innovatively, and we bring different ideas to the table, which wouldn't have happened without the diversity of thought, or if we didn't provide a voice to each of our staff members. But of course, there are a lot of companies that do it for the tick boxing exercise. And again, it's really important to see at the evidence. They need to show the evidence, they need to show the commitment, because it's all good in saying that companies support ED&I, but what do they actually do, and do they mean it? This is the most important part of it, of course, and it's a journey, as Sarah said.
Yeah, I guess so. Your take on this, Arevika, before I come to Barbara. I mean, across just the security sector, from your observation, of course, you are looking at often at those that are most engaged and those that are most. Wouldn't the low number of women compared to men in itself suggest you're on a journey? Okay, I mean, the world's on a journey, but it's a long way to go in security.
It is a long way to go, but looking at the statistics, in 2019, it was 9% of women in the industry, then it went all the way up to 11%, which is still not great, but it shows that there is a slow improvement to this, obviously, statistic. But what we can do now is that we have people across the industry, we've got different associations, and we're starting to really finally work together to hopefully promote the industry to the next generation, attract female to the industry, and to really diversify. So I've seen a lot of action in the past year myself, working with our members at ACES International, working with Skills for Security at STM Group. And I've seen that everybody is now taking it more seriously, and they're actually trying to look at the campaigns. What can we do to attract more females? Is it the title security officer? Is it really that compelling? Are they interested in applying for the role? So maybe that is something we need to look at, the titles, how we promote the recruitment advertisement. So it's a combined effort that we're seeing nowadays, but hopefully the progress will speed up as we move forward.
Yeah, okay. Let me come to Barbara then. Barbara, I'm interested in your view, which is from a slightly different take. You're in HR for a start, and you're come from a different country to Arevika and Sarah, where they work now. Barbara, your take on the barriers. What are the main barriers that need to be overcome in order to get more engagement from more companies on this broad issue of ED&I?
I think one of the main barriers from my end of the world is it can be a bit controversial to promote some of the EDI initiatives. For example, we are in a very patriarchal culture, so promoting female inclusivity in the security industry does receive a lot of feedback. Some people think it's a gimmick, that we're not being serious about security. So some companies might feel shy about promoting that side of the agenda. And also some of the other inclusivity areas are quite controversial in this area of the world, like the LGBTQ issue. Companies can't really promote that because, yeah, it's not very welcome in this part of the world. So another barrier that might be preventing EDI from companies from promoting the EDI is, I think, for us HR professionals, we have to be meticulous about proving the data, like collecting the data and proving it and showing that actually it is a benefit. And from year on year, you can see how the EDI initiative has affected the company. So for HR professionals, we just have to be more meticulous about collecting the data and sharing the data with the executives on top.
Really interesting, actually, and it's that sort of thing that I'm going to come back to in a minute. So thank you for that, Barbara. Let me come to a question from Michael Gibbs, who's formerly been a panelist. And here's let me start with you, Arevika. Recent research from Yale and London Business Schools shows that corporate ED&I efforts might be backfiring, specifically that linking diversity to corporate profits may be a turnoff to underrepresented individuals the organizations are trying to attract, which might make them less likely to want to join the organization. interesting, you know, the way that it's sold. Arevika, are you surprised by that finding? And if yes, if not, why not? If yes, why?
I would say I'm not surprised, because if we want to join the company, we want to know that they're doing it not because they want to increase their profits, but because they know the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They know that it brings all the innovation, diversity of thoughts and ideas, and they really want to diversify their workforce and not increase their profits. So I totally understand that. And I would be surprised to see if a company promotes ED&I from that perspective, really. And hopefully I will never see that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, in the let me come to you, Sarah. I mean, in your talk, you were emphasising the link to profits. I mean, it's the business language, right? I mean, but look, it's an interesting point, isn't it? That as we go on this journey, the messaging here is really, really crucial. You know, and I wonder whether you feel we've got the messaging right, and whether you're surprised by that finding, Sarah.
So equally, I'm not surprised by it, but I think we're trying to put a revenue and commercial, financial statistics and figures to this because we're trying to prove that it's the right thing to do. However, if we take the commercials away from that completely and we just look at the employee benefits, what we really want to do is attract the right talent and from an unrepresented industry. And if you look at it from an employee benefits, you know, happier employees, the attrition rates reduce massively, so you don't have that business churn of people. You also have great innovation. You've got a really lovely culture of thoughtful people who can bring their innovation to the forefront. And a business is thriving. I mean, to have the sense of belonging, to create a culture, surely is something that people want to join. But not only that, HR statistics show that there's a reduction in behavioural issues in a business. So again, actually, the whole bullying and harassment and other pieces that go with that reduce. And therefore, it's a really nice place to work.
Okay, but you see, let me come to you on this, Barbara, because this HR perspective, okay? I want to know, first of all, Barbara, you presumably, given what you just said about the LGBTQ plus community in Kenya, and by the way, that's the subject of a webinar in a month's time at the start of June, but you aren't surprised about the need to get the messaging right and the fact that sometimes that messaging needs to be improved. Barbara?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I think a lot of the workforce right now are millennials and Gen Zs. And for them, diversity is actually a core value. For them, they believe that everyone needs to be included. So a company that is pursuing diversity because of business performance is going to turn off this, it's going to turn off the consumers and the employees. So diversity it's the right thing to do. So it's not something that you're supposed to be doing just because of business performance. So it's something that's supposed to be a core value for your organization. And that's supposed to be the messaging. We're doing it. It's our core value. We want everyone to feel included. It's not just about the profits.
Okay. Arevika, one of the questions from Simon Champ, and indeed I got this in advance as well, goes something like this. Is good ED&I in the security sector, which is male dominated, actually also about positive discrimination?
That's a difficult question.
It's a very difficult question, but I mean, the point is, though, I mean, in this country we have, you know, all female lists for MPs, etc. And the point about positive discrimination, it's seen as being a very necessary step in order to progress these very points. And I mean, is that a reasonable start to take, or is that a controversial one? I mean, I'm just interested to get your thoughts, and I'll come to Sarah and Barbara.
So I'll just share 2 points, 2 aspects to this, because I understand it from both sides to the story. I've seen a lot of times where a positive discrimination has been made because obviously it's the right thing to do. We want to make a change. If we don't do that, then how can we ensure that a woman takes a senior role in the organization? We need to lead by example, right? So from this perspective, I understand that it's seen as a good thing to do. But from the other side, of course, we don't want to discriminate also and give a position to somebody, let's say in the workplace, right? I'm taking this as an example, to somebody rather than an employee that deserves the role. and discriminate them from getting that position. So from that perspective, I think that is also, I understand that perspective, that would be incorrect and morally probably irresponsible. But as I said, it's a difficult thing. I understand both sides to the story. It's very difficult, Martin.
It is very difficult. Let me come to you, Barbara, perhaps next. I mean, it is. I mean, there is a case, isn't there, for arguing, as Simon Cham says, that if we're going to make a change on this in a male-dominated world, where, let's be clear, we were just celebrating the fact it's gone from 9% to 11%. I mean, if this is the case, we're going to need some dramatic intervention to bring about change, and we're going to have to think of things like positive discrimination, aren't we, Barbara?
I believe I think we are going to have to do that. But look at those figures. We are 11% women in the security industry. So it's just something that needs to be done. We have to give more women opportunities. And for Lady Askari, our belief is that we have to give the best person the job. But for women, if there's a woman and a man and both of them are qualified, we would give the woman the chance, because currently women are very underrepresented and we need to bring more women into the industry just for the betterment of the whole industry. So yes, there's an element of positive discrimination, but we also have to ensure that we're giving the best person the job.
Yeah, okay, I understand that, and it's the way it's done, I guess, can be important. Sarah, I'm going to come to you on this because I'll be interested in your view. I mean, you know, you've been in senior management, and these are some of the realities. What's your take on this?
So I think it is about giving the right person the right job. However, what we've not done really in the security industry is made the role very attractive. And therefore, the City Security Council are just about to go out and do a film where we're going to show the complete diversity of the roles across security, because there's absolutely some phenomenal roles. There's the front of house, there's working in hospitals, there's working in so many of the different sectors. But actually, hot off the press, Michelle Russell from the SIA, the CEO, informed me yesterday that we've now moved to 12%. And actually 12% represents 5K of more females within the industry. So you can see the scalability that we really need to get to move 1 percentage point. But I do think we've got to do in the security industry so much work about making these roles attractive, and it's them the right person for the right role.
Yeah, okay, I understand that. I've got to tell you, all of you in the audience, that in my company, we'd actually come out quite well in ED&I. But any claim that I'd thought about this in advance would be a bit of an exaggeration, because all I did was appoint the best candidate. And it just happened to be mostly women. You'd be surprised to know, but just appoint the best candidate, and surprise, surprise, perhaps. But let me move on. Barbara, let me come back to you. I want to get to this point because I had two questions, and Chris Middleton's picked up on this about if this is about the business benefit, right, the commercial benefit, and monetizing it, because the business does talk that language. But do you think that and what you've done and what all of you have done is quote industry reference point, and the ASS Foundation have just published a study actually that says the same thing. There's plenty of evidence now. Yes, there are benefits, but does each organization need to do this in its own terms, develop this for itself? Because if that is a requirement, that is a tough cookie. That is quite a major ask in a lot of circumstances just to get that meaningfully undertaken. Barbara, where do we need to go with this?
Yes, of course, I think each organization has to know what their goals are with regards to their profitability, and how EDI can be a tool that can be used towards that goal. So each organization has to come up with their own EDI objectives and EDI measurement tools to realize, like, compared to last year, how are we doing with our EDI, and how is it affecting our business performance? You can't rely on the statistics for other companies. You have to come up with your own, and with your own measurements, and track your own results. Yeah.
I mean, Arevika, in the work that you do, right, how widely do you think the security sector is embracing this commitment to developing the evidence on a company basis? I mean, look, we know it's good. I'm just trying to get to some of the realities here, Arevika, and you've worked across organizations and across different groups. How big a step is this we've still got to make? I mean, how widespread is good practice, I guess?
I think I will say that, again, over the past year, I've seen a big focus on ED&I. Just last week, I was talking to Crown Commercial, to public organizations. And the thing is that companies have to actually now show their commitment to ED&I, and they have to show the evidence, because every single tender gives a percentage of 10% usually and above to social value, which also includes equality, diversity, and inclusion, which is a great thing, because obviously our clients are dictating that it is necessary for them that all the organizations that they work with show commitments to equality, diversity, and inclusion. So companies really do not have a choice nowadays but to support ED&I, and they need to show that they're doing something. And maybe in a lot of companies, yes, it will be a tick boxing exercise, unfortunately, but at some point they will see the benefits. They will see that the industry is growing and there is more focus on this important area, and they will obviously show more commitment. So. Okay,
Sarah, if I wanted to ask anyone that I know about tenders and this issue, I think I'd come to you. So is Arevika right? Is it that big a deal? And is it really tested as to in a way that's truly meaningful?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it is part of every single tender, and it's part of the criteria in the questionnaire. And I do believe it is measured. I think customers are really wanting to know how this has been embedded in your business. So, you know, of course, you can be able to show the commercial statistics that go with that, but actually, if you lift underneath the bonnet and have a look at the employee surveys, you look at the culture, you look at whether it's a healthy workplace, you know, you look at the morale within a business, the productivity, and the employee engagement. I think the signs there are really telling. And so if I was a customer looking at this, yes, I'd absolutely want to know that EDI was embedded culture across the business.
Yeah, I mean, and how easy is it to prove that? I mean, when you respond to tenders, you've done this yourself in different organizations, of course. I don't just want to speak about your own companies you've worked for, Sarah, more the principle about collecting the evidence to be persuasive in a tender. I mean, is that straightforward?
So I think it is if you're taking it seriously. So if a business is looking at ED&I, you'd expect them to have an EDI council, you'd expect them to have a policy, you'd expect them to have vision, mission, objectives, and a tactical plan, and an EDI strategy. So I think those things are very evidence-based, and therefore you should be able to populate those quite easy into a tender. And then I think to read through those, you can then really feel whether it's part of a business or not.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, let me get your thoughts in Kenya. We were saying actually, Barbara, before we came on air, that you previously worked in a different sector. You've been in security, what, 3 years now? I mean, I wonder, how does security compare to the previous sector that you worked in? I mean, is it far behind? Is it ahead? The same? What's the difference, Barbara?
So I think for me, the difference when it comes to gender, it was never a question for me. I never felt like there's this is something that needs to be thought about, because there was just so much representation. So coming into the security industry, I was surprised at how much advocacy needs to be done for the women in the industry, and how much they have to push back and struggle just to get respect and just to get the positions that they want to get. So for me, the security industry, with regards to gender diversity, I think it's way behind some other industries. Yeah.
Is it way behind just because of the number of women, though, and indeed
also the attitudes and the culture? Yeah.
What do you think it is about society there that makes that situation as it is now?
I think just traditionally security has been thought of, you need bronze, you need someone who's very strong to be able to work in security. You need a man basically to work in security. So having an agenda of bringing more women into the security industry, it just raises a lot of paradigm shifts to many people.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes we can get very sort of confident or even maybe complacent about advances that are being made in the very best companies, and maybe not take on board some of the realities around the world that face. All right, let me move on then. Sarah, let me come back to you on this question first. I'd like to know what it is that you would most see as important in terms of developing this area further. What would you most need to see on a strategic level? What most needs to change and why? And then I'll come to Arevika and I'll come to Barbara. Sarah first, though, please.
So I think Arevika touched on it earlier. It absolutely needs senior buy-in within a business. It needs to be the agenda that's driven from the top, and that whole board needs to be on board to knowing what they're trying to deliver and setting the strategy for the business. And then it's about actually measuring it and ensuring it's embedded across the business. So I think it starts with senior leadership.
And Sarah, do you think that in some organizations in the security sector that is problematic? Because it just strikes me that we wouldn't even be having this webinar if all was perfect and if all was hunky-dory. I mean, but there are loads of these conversations going on. And one of the things I'm keen to talk about today and why I'm grateful to your input is I know it's a good, I know it's unqualified good, but the problem is it is not ubiquitous. There are still major steps to be made. And I just wonder, what do you think extra work, what needs to be done more to engage hierarchies about these points? I mean, why is it already not obvious?
Yeah, so Martin, I think it's about awareness. So, you know, my journey started about 18 months ago with ED&I when I really started to look at it and get interested and then understand the benefits. And actually, if the business I was in had not reached out for me to be able to go and do that, it probably wouldn't have been on my agenda, sadly to say. So I do think it's about raising awareness. I think webinars like this are absolutely fabulous, but also I think it's about people feeding it back into businesses to make sure that they're aware of the possibilities of EDI and how to change the culture.
Okay. So Arevika, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. What do you most want to see? If you could wave a magic wand, what would change, would you say would be most important?
I would like to see real, meaningful evidence from companies, not just tick boxing. I would really like people to not be biased, not discriminate other people, to eliminate unconscious bias, obviously, which is so important, and we face it every single day. Just to be open and to be inclusive in every culture and in every organization. That is what I'd like to see. I'd like to see inclusivity, a true meaningful inclusivity, where the top, the leaders, the employees, the colleagues, everyone really respects each other and understands that we're all different, we're all unique, we all bring something unique to the table, and if we work together, we can achieve amazing things, and that is a magic wand.
It is a magic wand, and it's very important to say that. I mean, I guess the thing is, though, Arevika, is the truth that is that to do this well is not easy. I mean, it really does take a focus, it takes an initiative, it takes a strategy, and it's not easy.
It's not easy, but I agree, Martin, that in the past 12 months, there has been so much focus on ED&I, including the appointment of ED&I champions at a variety of organizations, including my company. I was appointed as an ED&I champion just last year. I was appointed as ACE's board director, January last year as well. And I've seen Satya, people like Sarah Cork, Barbara, I'm sure, now we've met each other. There are so many people, so many champions in the industry that are promoting this topic. There are so many events around this, so many resources being shared. There is a lot of conversation, which hopefully brings awareness to this topic, and top leaders, they're attending those security conferences, the security events, and they start attending and hearing ED&I, and it just starts creating a spark in their brain, and they're starting to, be curious and starting to hopefully understand the topic and the benefits, which will create a change sooner than later. I truly believe that we are on the right way now.
That's a positive thing to say. Barbara, I'm interested in your view, your answer on this question about what change in your context you would like to see to bring about positive developments in this area of activity.
So for me, I think I would love to see the leaders in the security industry to see what kind of value everyone can bring to the industry. So the kind of value that women can bring, that disabled people can bring, that LGBTQ people can bring, like there's so much thoughts they can bring into the industry to make it much better and to make it more effective for everyone. So I think by locking out all these other people, the security industry is not as effective as it can be. So I would like for the industry just to embrace everyone and welcome all their thoughts so that we can be able to provide the best solutions for our clients.
And would you say, Barbara, the sector you came from previously was better at this than you found security to be to date?
In some areas, particularly with regards to gender inclusivity.
Okay.
Yeah. In some areas.
Whereas you've already said we've got this male-dominated area, and we've got this macho type of culture that still exists in some part of the world, particularly in some roles. So just a couple of final points, if I might. Dennis Shep just says, well done on this session, informative and insightful. I'm seeing some pushback from many of my colleagues on D&I, so the discussions are valuable. Good panel, thank you. I wonder whether I could, final comments from each of you before we go. Shrey, just put the panel on. Let's go back to the panel, Shrey, we're not quite there yet. Thank you. Got rid of you a bit quick there. Just one final comment from each of you. You've got 20 seconds now, 20 seconds. I'd like to get your thoughts on this, about how hopeful are you that there are going to be really progressive movements in this over the next year? I mean, really progressive movements. I mean, have we reached the stage now where understanding's there and it's a matter of making sure we just implement it? Or are we going to see a lot more change, and what sort of change are we going to see? A big question. You've got 20 seconds. Major changes, Barbara.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful. I've already seen a lot of changes in the industry. More people are embracing diversity. So I'm very hopeful that we're going to be seeing more data showing the benefits of EDI.
Thank you. Arevika?
We've got all of the evidences, all of the research is included by ACES Foundation. We have everything there. We just need to use the data and start working on it. And we can do it by working together collaboratively. So I'm very hopeful and looking forward to it. Okay,
and Sarah, since this was all your idea, it seems only appropriate we leave it to you to say the final word.
I'm really confident that we're going to see change, Martin. And actually, I think there's some serious people across industry that are collaborating together and having those conversations. And I think we just need to collaborate more, join our hands, share awareness, help each other. And I'm really confident we can make this change.
Listen, thank you very much indeed. Panel, absolutely excellent discussion. And we'll definitely be coming back to this in due course. Thank you to the audience for your questions. Don't forget, a copy of the webinar will be on the website tomorrow, along with a blog. So just a few final points from me, just to say that the OSPAs, we've got closing in Romania, US OSPAs and the TechAttack Economic Crime Awards. Entries are open, but they close before too long. Up-and-coming events. Come and join us at the Nigerian OSPAs, the Ireland OSPAs, South African OSPAs, or the Romanian OSPAs. All these coming up in the next 6 weeks or so. And don't forget, we've got more webinars coming up. On the 11th of May, we're going to be looking at crime against wildlife. It's a fascinating area. I've got to be telling you about what's going on there. Dramatically bad. Different context on the 25th of May. How great are security threats in smart cities? Are there a catastrophe in waiting? And on 8th of June, building on some of the issues today, we'll be looking in Pride Month about pride in the security sector, looking about what's next, what's going to be happening going forward on an area that really you can't put too much focus on. So thank you once again to the audience for your questions and your engagements. Thank you very much indeed to our panel, and also to Shrey Singh in the background who puts this all together with me. I'm very grateful to you, and hopefully I'll see you on the 11th of May, and if not before, but wherever you are in the world, until we meet again, stay safe.